Yeah, so basically, welcome to 1 Million Cups, the disappointing first one that's still on Zoom. I am sorry about that. I was trying to make it there in person. Oh, why? Why is it? There we go. Okay, so I am Airlie Wedemeyer. Of those of you that don't know me, I do recognize a few faces in the room. There's still a couple masks on, I think, so I may not recognize you. But I'm a former international educator. I taught in Africa, Asia, and Europe. I had my son in the Philippine Islands while I was there working at a Korean school, which is where I learned about reflexology. So it came a few months after I'd had him. I was, I had started my period again. I was having menstrual cramps, but I was still breastfeeding, so you can't take pain medicine. And that's when they taught me about the uterus pressure point, which is on the inside of your ankle. So that's a bizarre concept to most people, but I'll tell you all about it in just a second. So currently the problem with remedies for menstrual pain, first of all, period pain affects 89% of women. And it's the #1 reason for missed school in the world. But the #1 go-to is pain medicine. So that's bad for your health. Everybody knows it. Causes ulcers, kidney and liver damage, all sorts of gastro problems. And it also doesn't help with endometriosis because I found this out not that long ago, actually, because a lot of the groups of women that I help, they have endometriosis, and MyPeriodPal is the only thing that's been able to help them so far. And it seems that progesterones are being made while you're in pain, but you have to actually, for endometriosis, you have to take the pain medication. I think it's something like 30 minutes or an hour before you start feeling pain. But as people with endo know, you have flare-ups and you can never tell when that pain is going to happen. So, and it affects 1 in 10 women. So that's a huge problem. It's also expensive. Things like the essential oils and pain medications and random treatments that women try over and over and over again just to get some relief, thermocare patches, things like that. There's a heavy price tag that comes with those after you keep on buying them over and over again. MyPeriodPal is pretty much a one-time purchase. I mean, we're getting some cuter patterns and things like that. So I am finding that women are buying more than one, which is nice. Okay, and so how it works. Reflexology is how it works. And that's the basic concept that there are the nerve endings in your body end at your feet and your hands. And so pressing certain points corresponds with the organ, with the corresponding organ. So when you press a certain point, and there are maps of your feet and your hands and your ears, but specifically I'm talking about the feet. When you press that area, you will find relief and healing properties. So the uterus pressure point lies right there on the back lower part of your ankle. And when you press it, you find immediate relief. It's any time between, just a few seconds to 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. All right. So after I went from let's see, Egypt and then the Philippines, where I had my son, Slovakia. We came back to America when my son started to talk because he was able to communicate with me that he missed everybody back home. And I said, okay, well, we've had our fun. We'll come on back home. And at that time, I was working in a Fortune 500 office where I was able to do a lot of beta testing with the women that I was working with. So I went ahead and got 3 grants that not only proved some validation for my concept, but also money, obviously, which helped out a lot. And then I ended up, fast forward about 2 years, a lot of iterations and a lot of pattern making. And then I secured manufacturing in China. For a long time, I was attempting and minimally successful in manufacturing in America, but I found that the urgency and the attention to detail was actually much higher in China. And I actually pay them American wages, so which has helped for small batch manufacturing because I hold a pretty dear place in their hearts, paying them American wages. So while a lot of people are having supply chain issues right now, I have not necessarily had that problem. So the official launch was in September 2021. I've sold about 50 pair. That's pretty organic because I have, and I've made a couple thousand in sales. It's pretty organic because I was doing some social ads with a marketing agency, but I was finding that it was just really coming up crickets. You know, and so I kind of pivoted and I went in a more personal direction, and I started doing other ways to get attention, to get sales, and to really get people to trust me as a person and as a brand. And it's so far it is spending zero money has made me a lot more money than spending on Facebook and Instagram ads, which is pretty cool. So I've done some giveaways. That has led to a lot of followers and a lot of engagement. I've gotten reviews on Facebook, Google, as well as on my website. Social ads, as I've said, were not successful. I am trying a new social media marketing company, though, that is going to focus on retargeting. So that's kind of like when you click on one thing and then you begin to see it over and over and over again in your feed. That's basically going to be their strategy, among other things, because technically, I suppose the average person has to see something 7 times before it becomes familiar and before they actually take action. Micro influencers, that was minimally successful. I have another friend who's a major influencer, is just a friend of mine. I actually did not have to pay her at all, and she has like 50,000 followers, and she did a pretty big blip on it, and that ended well. Facebook groups, pretty active in like primary dysmenorrhea groups, endometriosis groups, just kind of like going in there and speaking a little bit with the women and telling them a little bit about my product, and that's led to quite a few sales and sales afterwards of their friends. I was also on a lot of holiday gift blogs. I found those through that other one down there, Heyro, Help a Reporter Out, which has been, I wouldn't say that it's really led to any sales, but it has led to a lot of traffic, which, you know, eventually may lead to some sales, but it got me a lot of good exposure and kind of just building up that website, kind of Google presence, I suppose. And where I need help is word of mouth tactics. So like right now, I would say 80% of my sales come from word of mouth. So I would really like to see if you have any special tactics on how to raise brand awareness through word of mouth, perhaps incentives, buzzworthy postings, you know, hashtags, anything. You know, I don't really have any special hashtags. I have hashtag MyPeriodPal, but excuse me, all this weather is getting to me. But you know, that's kind of, until my business, I was completely out of social media. I did not have a Facebook. I did not have an Instagram. So this is a little bit new for me, and I would say I'm learning quickly, but also money saving tactics. What would you have done differently when it comes to advertising? Just basically some hacks there if you have any. And then growth and sales strategies, and basically what you've seen. What do you think I should do next? And then of course, my thank you. So that's my email, my phone number, the website, my Instagram, Facebook, and really hope to keep in touch with you guys. And yeah, so I guess that's my spiel. Jamie, do you want me